Well, we learned where you worked and what you did with the de-icer, and you were telling a story about your coats in the department next door. Continue, please.
Right. The B-25 was our department next to us, and they only worked one shift, so therefore it was always very dark there. And that's where we threw our coats, on their toolboxes. And the toolboxes were built on the floor. Well, what we used to do is the lady friends of my lady friend and I would take turns taking a nap. We would crawl in the B-25 department and crawl under the coats or on the coats and take our nap. Well, one night it was raining, and so we had umbrellas, and we opened up our umbrellas on top of our coats. And when I took my nap, I crawled under the umbrella. Ironically, a colonel or whatever he was, major colonel or something, he was not allowed to cut through the departments because that was a distraction to us. He was supposed to stay on the pathway to the office. The office was way on the other end of the building. Well, he cut through our department, and as he went past my umbrella, he went with his hand, and I said, okay. I thought that was my signal to come out. Well, it scared him to death, and he ran right in the office. Out comes my boss, my supervisor. He kicks the umbrella with his foot, and he grabs me by the ear and pulls me up, and he said, in the office, young lady. And I went in the office, and he filled out papers. The next morning, and he sent me home. I had to go home. I couldn't finish the evening. The next morning, I had to go to Willow Run to the court. It was just like a courthouse. There was an officer sitting there and a couple officers on each side and my boss. And they said what I did. Well, they asked me if I understood that was wrong, and I said, absolutely. He said, well, they looked at my record. I had never been late. I had never been absent. I had never been caught sleeping, and and I had never been disciplined. So they put me on probation for 1 year. Yeah.
So at that time, did you stop sleeping under the coats?
No. No.
You didn't stop?
No. Yes, I did stop sleeping under the coats, but I had another method.
Oh, do tell.
You want to hear it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. We had a matron that took care of all anything we needed, and she would come in the restroom, and she would have a flashlight, and she would flash under the booths to see if anybody was sleeping. Well, I would go in there, and I would put my knees up on the toilet, my arms around my knees, my head on my knees, and I would go to sleep. We knew exactly what time she would come in there every night the same time. So I made sure that I tried to get the time that she wasn't coming through. And sure enough, I never got caught again. I would have lost my job if I'd have got caught.
It sounds
But I didn't stop sleeping, no.
You must have been really tired to
Well,
sleep
I'll
under
tell you,
those
when I worked afternoons during the day, I had to do a lot for my mother, and I really couldn't sleep very long. So yeah, I needed the rest.
Good. We're glad you got it. Was the work difficult to do? Was it a difficult job physically?
No, it wasn't difficult at all because the screw machine that I had to put on was very small, you know. Mm-hmm. It rattled, it shook us when we put it on. No, it wasn't a hard job at all. And we did have some men there, either they were a little bit handicapped or 4F, that would turn the fins, because those fins are huge. Mm-hmm. Those tails are huge. They would turn them for us and us. I did have another job too. I was the repair person. Didn't I tell you that?
No.
Yes. When somebody made a mistake on the fin, the drill slipped or something, then it with an excessive hole, then it had to be repaired. I was only 98 pounds, and so what they would do, they would put a strap across my here and up my shoulders, and they would lift me way up. They would set the fin upright so that the ribs were parallel. They would pull me way up, way up, and lower me down between the ribs. And then I had a bucker. The bucker is a metal thing about that thick, and it's just a little hand made out of solid iron. And I would have a bucker. I would tap where I was at, and the repairman would tap where the damage was at. And I would hold it there, and he would repair it from the outside. And then they'd pull me up.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Was that enjoyable? Was that a nice challenge?
No, not really. It was work.
It was work.
I hated it because sometimes I would get claustrophobia when I went down in there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. Did you enjoy the job generally?
I didn't know what enjoy was then. I don't think so. I did it because it was good money and it was helping my mother and I wanted to get my brothers home. As far as enjoying it, no, I don't think I say, oh, I love my job. No, I didn't say that. I just wish the war was over.
Yeah, and you were working hard and making money. You have told me before a little bit about the time or times that Henry Ford, once did we get to the plant you were in? It was the Rouge plant,
The Rouge
right?
plant on Miller Road in
That's right.
Detroit
Okay.
area.
And it
Right.
was the Henry Ford.
The Henry Ford.
Yes, and
Plant.
he would visit. Talk to us about that.
He wouldn't visit. That was his job. He was my boss. He
Oh.
would come through the plant, and he always had as many as 4 officers with him, lieutenants or colonels or whatever, but they were loaded with metal. And they would come through the plant, and every time he came through the plant, he said the same thing. He said, ladies, 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 may I please have your attention? And his arms would go out like that, you know. And so we'd all stop and try to get in a group so we could hear him. And he'd say, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Henry Ford wasn't any taller than I am right now. He was just a little guy. Wish I'd asked him for an autograph, but he was my boss. But anyway, he would say, I want to thank you for coming to work here and helping us with the boys, and we'll bring our servicemen home, if God willing. And he would go on and on and on. And then he would say, I promise you, the day the war ends, you may all go home to your loved ones. And so we did. We went home to our loved ones. The day the war ended, we didn't have to go to work.
Wonderful. Now, we have talked a little bit about this before, but some women weren't so happy to go home. They wanted to keep working. Was that the case with you?
No, I was more than glad to go home.
Yeah.
I was absolutely pleased to go home. He did say, if you lost a loved one in the service, you will have a job here for a lifetime.
Wow.
He did say that to all of us. Yeah.
Wow. And fortunately, you did not.
I did not. My brother was missing in action, but he was found. Right.
All right. Well, that's wonderful. So you worked there from 42 to 45, and on the day the war ended.
Yeah, the latter part of 42 till the day the war ended.
All right. Let's go now to the time of your life after that, and we'll go on with that in the next section there.
Yeah, okay.
That'll work.